Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Combat Craig, and we're going to talk about VA unemployability with Matt Hill here today. There's a few things about VA and unemployability, TDIU, the poverty limit, and things to watch out for there, and then more specifically, the vague parts of the sheltered and protected work environment. The poverty limit is a restriction when you're on TDIU. And the poverty limit changes, just like the cost of living increase changes. So is it just cut and dry? Like if you make over the poverty limit by 1 cent, it's a problem? Or can you make a little bit over? Or should you just know what you're doing and not take those extra 6 hours and go over the poverty limit? What are your thoughts?
The last one, what you just said, not go over is the best part. If you do go over by a little, I don't think they're going to come after you. If you have a history, multi-years of going over it, that'll probably raise a red flag for them, because I don't know if we talked about this, but you and I were talking about how now they don't even rely on you to bring in or to mail in what you made over the last year. They just go straight to your Social Security records and they can find it.
That was a form you had to send in, right? When did that change? A couple of years ago, I think, right?
Gosh, it's been 3-4 years probably, yeah, which is nice on the vet. They don't have to do anything. But if you pop way over in a year, that's going to hit a red flag and they go for it. But this is the typical Combat Craig. He jumps right in. Well, let's back up and actually tell people what the heck we're talking about with unemployability here.
Okay.
Unemployability, it's what we have the majority of our practices on, because the VA math is just nonsensical. 1 plus, 10 plus 10 is 19, not 20. Closer you get to 100, the harder it is to get 100, for instance.
Well, actually, if it's left leg 10, right leg 10, you'd have the bilateral factor. Is that still 19, or would that kick it up to 21 potentially?
There you go. That would kick it up. But if you are at 90% and you get a 40% rating, you go up to 94, which actually brings you back down to 90. So it gets, the closer you get, the harder it is.
For sure.
It's kind of like football. You get halfway to the end zone, right? You get inside the 10-yard line and the other side gets a penalty, and then they put the ball halfway there, and it keeps on going halfway there but never gets there. Unemployability is a way, what I call the back door to 100%. And that if you were at, let's say 70%, that's kind of the easy 70%, and you can't work because of your VA benefits, they will bridge the gap to 100% disability compensation. So even though you're at 70%, they will give you all the way up to 100% compensation. And that is great, because there's so many vets out there that have such severe disabilities that might not make a big rating on the VA's chart. They still can get their 100% rating and permanent in total, and then not have to keep fighting for nickels and dimes on these things when it comes to actually getting a higher rating.
And that's a good point right there you're saying too. And permanent in total. You could be 100% TDIU or 100% P&T TDIU. Either or, and it depends on the severity of your symptoms or your disabilities that are service connected and the likelihood of them getting better. Go look at your claims file and go see what's static, what's not static. That will give you an indication if you're not P&T for any reason. That would be a good place to look, but rabbit hole.
Yeah, well, no, good rabbit hole, because people ask all the time, what's the real difference between 100% and IU? Can I get all the extra, extra things you get with P&T?
Which are a lot,
and you've done great videos on this. And so you want to make sure you're P&T. I will tell, we'll go down another rabbit hole. They used to just give this to vets who are over 50, had severe disabilities. They would just automatically be P&T. Now they're actually not doing it. They're trying to see if, honestly, it's like they're trying to see if vets notice it. So if you get 100% or IU, and it doesn't say on your rating decision that you got educational benefits, that's kind of the trigger.
Yeah, the DEA. They could just say you're P&T, but
that'd be too easy.
But it's easy, right?
Yeah. So you want to look on there, and you want to see, did they give you that? If they didn't, you want to write them and say, hey, this should be permanent total. Here's why. Not getting better. It's been this bad for so long. I'm over this age. Because you want to get those benefits that the Combat Greg's talking about. Now they're trying, they're just trying to see more money they can save.
Yes, totally. It's all about the Benjamins.
All about them keeping the Benjamins. Yeah. So that's kind of, again, that's the umbrella with TDIU. And then coming down to what Combat Cred said is there's more ways to get it. And of course, this is the VA, right? There's 100% can be TDIU, it can be straight 100%. Well, unemployability can be you literally aren't working, or no, you are working, but you're working under these restricted conditions. And so he was saying, if you're working but it's under the poverty line, they can't touch you. Another way is if it's marginal employment, they can't touch you.
What does
Marginal
marginal employment mean? Does that have a dollar amount attached to it, or is that a
under the poverty line is included in the marginal employment, and
okay?
I'm just kind of reading off here um, their actual regulation on this, 38 CFR 4.16, and it says marginal employment may be held to exist on a facts found basis. And they give an example saying this includes, is not limited to, employment in a protected environment such as a family business or a sheltered workshop. I have no idea what a sheltered workshop is, but that's their example.
Santa's little sheltered workshop.
Yeah, exactly,
Right
exactly.
now. Yeah, I don't think so.
So interestingly, Combat Craig, we actually have a case at the Veterans Court where the Veterans Court has asked us to define what protected environment is. Because what's happening right now is the VA has explicitly not given any more definition than this. And so they have these board judges running amok. Just each judge just decides, hey, I'm going to say it's this, or I'm going to say it's that. Let me give you two examples here.
And before now, I'm going to cut you off because we're going too quick. Just to
All right.
all right. So when you say the Veterans Court, we're not talking about the VA. We're talking about the Court of Veterans Appeals, CAVC.
Yeah, the court. Exactly. Court of Appeals of Veterans Claims, which is
Okay.
not in the VA, but oversees the VA.
Okay.
And it's actually, a contentious litigation
Relationship.
at that point. Well, meaning like in the VA, they're supposedly helping you win your claim, so
Duty
it's not
to assist,
adversarial.
yeah.
Exactly. But once you get out of it, we stop pretending. And once you get to the Veterans Court, it's
gloves off for sure. There's nothing friendly about that environment.
Yeah. So let me just read these to you. It's a little bit windbag, but it's interesting what they're saying. So we had a case where the VA defined what marginal employment is not, and they said a claimant's employer is required by law to provide reasonable accommodations pursuant to the ADA. Those accommodations allow the claimant to engage in substantive gainful occupation. Then the TDIU award would constitute a second paycheck on the backs of the taxpayer. So this is what I love. These judges just decide all of a sudden that not only are they judging BVA cases in the BVA law, they're all of a sudden the defenders of the U.S. Treasury, which is, who do they think they are? But that's what they did in this case, and they denied our vet because he was making money, even though it was in a place where he shouted at people, he yelled at his employer, but his employer was a vet. He's like, hey, I know what he's going through. I'm going to put him in the back, give him his own space, and let him do his work.
Right.
So this is nonsense. And then we saw this other one where it says a protected environment exists when one's employment is not based on merit alone, but rather established to save the individual from likely financial loss. In other words, protected environment is an employed environment that would not exist but for the willingness of the employer to hire and pay the employee for altruistic or personal reasons. So basically, it's like you got to prove the boss is a nice guy. The boss is benevolent. Oh, look, he's just hiring this veteran because he's really nice and he wants this veteran to have a job. That's a bunch of nonsense. A protected environment is where they say, look, we like you, we value you, but we understand you have some severe limitations due to your disability, and so we're going to kind of put you off in this corner. Or they do say, look, you're a family member. I mean, this is the easiest one. You're a family member. We're just going to create this job for you. I've also seen corporations that have literally created a job for a veteran, and once the veteran left, that job just went away. Here's the irony.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, here's the irony in all of this. The cases of marginal employment that we've won that I love the most are cases involving the VA, meaning we've won at least a dozen cases where the veteran worked for the VA. And what we did is proved that the VA was a sheltered employment. It's a non-competitive employment. There are people who work there. They did their job, but if they were to work the same job in a private sector, they'd be fired. They couldn't just get up and leave when they wanted. They couldn't go to 8 doctor's appointments a week. They couldn't yell at their colleagues like they do. So I get maybe the VA is benevolent, and I just never appreciated that. But this is going to be a really interesting case, and honestly, it's going to be a case that affects a lot of vets. But
So
marginal
you're
employment.
appealing the decision?
Oh yeah, we're
Yeah.
appealing the decision,
Yes.
and not only are we appealing it, the court has come back and said, yeah, VA, you're just defining this as you want as you go, and it's not fair to vets that they don't understand what the rule is before they get before the court, before the Board of Veterans Appeals. So
One
that'll
other
be interesting.
example that I know I've used this. I don't know where I got it from. I don't know where this fits in. I think protected. So this is like, you're in a shop and everybody gets paid 80 grand, which is good, especially in Idaho. And whatever you're doing, right? We're all wrenching on shit, working on cars. And I'm getting paid 80 grand, but I only show up for 10 hours a week. And when I do, I just can't work. Like the guy is going way out of his way, paying me exactly the same and losing his ass on me and protecting my job. Is that a way to describe it? That's something I heard or
I'd
learned or
call.
something.
I honestly would say that even fits their, altruistic or benevolent employment, because the
Yes,
guy's literally losing money but keeping you employed, paying you the same, even though you're not doing the same job. Any other employer probably would have fired your ass long ago.
totally.
Uh, so I think that counts under all the definitions.
Yep. And I think that's the main takeaway here. It's real easy for us to try on something and say, oh, we're going to win, or some other veteran said he did it, so I can do it. You can talk yourself in or out of anything. I notice that happens a lot with VA claims. Ah, perfect. He's got tinnitus, so I got it. Well, you'll get it when you win it, but anyway, so this kind of falls into that category. But be extra careful if you're thinking that you're in a sheltered or protected work environment and you're going to go make 150, 200 grand and put that on the line and then try to just argue it yourself. There's a lot of nuances and stuff like that. Like, personally, if I was doing something like that, I'd be lawyering up is something I would be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I tell vets all the time who are young, you don't want to be on unemployability, right? You want to
Right.
spend the next 40 years of your life just getting this. And so what I will do, if we win the case and we win unemployability, I'll say, hey, look, go back and try to work. If you can work for more than 6 months and you're in a place where you're healthy, you're not stressed out, tell the VA, say, hey, look, discontinue my unemployability benefits and I'll work. And that does one of two things. One, it might get them off unemployability, but working and doing something they want. Or two, if they try and they fail, that's just more evidence that they can't work. So that, but the guy who's making 150 grand, if it's with a family company, that could be inflated wages. What he
Yep.
needs is a letter from his boss or from his,
Dad.
brother or family member,
Right.
dad. Yeah. Just saying, hey, he works, or he's on my payroll because he's my son, and I want to help him in his life. And you'll find other bosses who do that as well. So there's ways to do it, but you're right. You're putting yourself on the radar if you're making that much money and you're not thinking about how's the VA going to see this and what am I doing to back up, my
Right. What's my
unemployability.
argument going to be, whatever
Right.
that is? And then just one more thing. Usually I'm talking about 100%, 100%, 100% PNT. Don't mess with it. But something has changed recently, and I think we're in agreement most of the time, but there's a few things we disagree on. But
Hairstyles for one.
what's that?
Hairstyles for one.
Choice of microphones for sure would be two. So my thing's just, if you're 100% and or 100% PNT, don't mess with it, because you go mess with it, whether it's filing more claims, even if you're 100% and you ask for PNT, you're asking for them to reopen the claim, right, and look at things that potentially could happen. It's not as much of a, actually, please answer. I don't know the answer.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. This is what's so critical, and where I see people make mistakes is when they get the rating decision, and that rating decision gives them something, right? Let's say the
Yep.
guy's fighting forever. He gets a rating decision for his knee, and he finally gets 10%, and he's saying, "Oh, thank God they recognize me. This is great." Well, he probably should have been getting 30% for for flexation, and then he should be getting another 10% for the loss of coordination or slash
Because
what
of
do you
the
call
three
that?
ratings on the knee. Perfect example.
Exactly.
Right. Let's just give
Exactly.
them one.
The instability. So it's like they give you a little to see if you'll go away. So let's put it in this situation. They give you that 100%. You fought forever and you say, oh, thank God I got this. I'm going to go away. But as you've said, and go back and see his P&T video, which is great if you haven't, there are a hell of a lot of good benefits you can get for P&T.
Right.
And my suggestion is you get that decision, it gives you the benefits, but say, well, the VA likes to give benefits, but they're always trying to hold something back. So if they didn't give you that P&T, appeal right there, okay? Because you're in the system, it's still going. What Craig just said is important is if you're out of the system and then you
Right. Now
come
you're
back in,
wandering back in. Ah, let me pull my
that
pants down and see what you guys do.
yeah, that's just there's a cost benefit analysis there. It could it be beneficial to get P&T? Yeah, I mean you will get benefits, but you're putting yourself at risk. But if you do it immediately when you get that decision and you appeal, or you just send them a letter saying, "Where's my P&T? You didn't deny it or give it to me. Here's why you should give it to me." You're okay at that point. But when you come back in, you got to say, "Is this worth a fight that could be longer?"
Cost benefit analysis. That's it's always like that. If you're not thinking like that, start thinking like that.
You didn't know he was an economist, ladies and gentlemen, did you?
I'm not an economist. I'm not a lawyer. I'm aware of cowboy hats. So the PACT Act changed, and lots of claims are being filed. So one thing that comes to mind, and this is one I wanted to talk through, I think this might be an exception. It is in my mind. So let's say you're at 70% right now. You won TDIU, so it's 2022. Let's say you won TDIU like 4 years ago. So you're, 4 years into your 100% rating, whether it's P&T or not. Let's just call it 100% P&T, TDIU. But you filed a claim for asthma and another condition. So you're, TDIU, you're at 70%, but you're getting paid at the 100% rate. So you're really 70. So let's say you're a Gulf War veteran like I am, and in 1993 you filed a claim for asthma and one or two of the other presumptive conditions on the list included in the PACT Act, and you have the evidence then and always to back up a higher rating. Like actually, if you would have gotten rated properly in 1993, that asthma would have been, I don't know, what's a good high rating for asthma? Is that like 40 or 60%?
You can get up to 60, yeah.
Yeah. So let's say you have it. You have a 60% rating for asthma. And then, one or two other things that actually, equal up to 80%. Essentially, you could have gotten it the hard way. And now we're talking about 1993, which is what, 30 something years ago or something. Back pay, cost of living increases, the difference between 70 and 100%. I mean, that would be something where the cost analysis, you should look at it, I think.
You should, but unfortunately with the Gulf War section of the PACT Act, you don't automatically get retro application of that. With a part of the Agent Orange section, you do. But what you kind of told me is if you had the evidence in back then and they got it wrong, you're only
didn't appeal it.
A Q case. Yeah, you didn't appeal it. So it would be a Q case, which that's hard, but you can definitely win those. I think you can win those on Gulf War because they just screw those up as a right. They either say, oh, you didn't have the fibromyalgia, but you did have all these pain points, and it should be heads you win, tails they lose, because either you have the diagnosis that they're specifically putting in the reg, or you have this Gulf War syndrome, which is an undiagnosed illness. But for the asthma, I unfortunately I don't see that going all the way back. But
cool. We'll just keep on going. But you did say, let's talk about the Agent Orange part. What is that? What about Agent Orange? Which condition is it? And then how does it actually work better for?
Well, the hypertension just came in.
Yep.
And they are not retroactively granting hypertension. And frankly, they're doing it because of, you talk about cost analysis. They're doing it because exactly it would cost too much. So many
it's
vets
50 years ago.
Yeah. They have hypertension. And it's not the hypertension that's going to cost them. That's a 10% rating. It's all the other problems. It's the stroke. It's the heart problems. It's the seizures. It's, even diabetes. It's, there's so many things that causes that people would be, then claiming and then have to go all the way back. So they don't let you go back on that. But here is this is VA at its bizarrest. If you're a widow, your vet had claimed hypertension before, and you're filing your first claim for his benefits, the widow can go back and get them, however far they were.
Yes. DIC benefits.
Well,
yes.
well, not just DIC, but accrued. So let's say he filed.
Got it.
Filed in 2000, died in 2018. She can get those benefits all the way back to 2000 that he should have been getting, which are a lot bigger than DIC. So the PACT Act has all these bizarre little nooks and corners, but so it's almost like winning this morbid lottery for the widow, and that if she's making this first claim on hypertension, she gets to go all the way back. If she's made it again and again and lost, well, she doesn't get to go all the way back.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining me today and clearing up TDIU and roaming into a couple other topics.
Is the hat new?
Nope, same hat.
Same hat. It looks like you shined it or something.
Same hat, same cheerful smile, all that kind of stuff. Awesome. Cool, Matt. I'll see you in the next one.
I look forward to it.
All right.
If you need to appeal your VA claim, check out Hill and Ponton at hillandponton.com. See if they can help you out. Also, if you're at Camp Lejeune between 53 and 87, you may be eligible for additional benefits. Links for both of those are in the description. Don't forget to sign up for my boot camp if you want to learn more about my process, which is the VA claims process. You're going to need medical evidence to win your VA claim. If you're missing a diagnosis, severity of your symptoms, or a nexus, and your doctor won't do it for you, send an email to Second Strata and see if they can help you with your missing medical evidence.